very good morning. I hope you all are doing wonderful today. So today we are going to discuss on the AI part, how the AI can help finance function. We have been all hearing and listening a lot of buzz around AI, and most of the enterprise clients today, they have already started reviewing what AI can do to their finance function. And in fact, most of the CFOs are already inquiring about how to automate things from the AI, and they have got a mandate from the board to do something on the AI, because AI is not only gonna reduce the overall operating cost, but also bring the accuracy of the finance function to a different level. But most importantly, people move slow in the AI adoption because they do not see the measurable ROI for any investment they make. And that is where sometimes the decision gets slow, that there is no real ROI. However, there are a lot of functions for a mid-sized to a large enterprise clients. There are a lot of functions they are already enabling to take the help of AI and reduce the manpower cost within the finance function. So today I will be talking only related to finance function, and within the finance function, how can you take the help of AI in the accounts payable function. Okay, because accounts payable function is something, it's a low hanging fruits which can be automated within couple of weeks itself. You do not need many quarters and many months to get the ROI. Within 3 to 4 weeks, you can start getting the ROI in your AP function. Okay, so let's jump into that. So when we talk about the AP function, why is the AP function a nightmare for a CFO? Because it's the only department that demands seamless coordination with multiple people within the organization, whether it's a business user, procurement team, vendors, compliance team like GST and TDS, and treasury and banks. So this is the AP team is the only team which has to ensure that they are in the tight coordination with the entire company inside as well as outside. Yeah. Now let's look into why the AP function keeps CFO awake at night. Book closure gets delayed and compliance issue. This is the pain point of all the CFO, that their book closure gets delayed and compliance issue happens in their AP function. And you are not alone. There is a published data that over 90% of the mid-market enterprise faces the same problem. Okay. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, you can raise your hands, and the team will give you an option to speak and ask questions, and I will answer all your queries. Okay, now let's look into the examples of manual chaos and errors. Why our AP team struggles? These are some of the examples we have listed down here. I have personally spoken to more than 5,000 AP heads and finance heads over the last 8 years, and we have compiled list of manual chaos and errors in the AP function. Manual vendor verification and onboarding. Whenever you have to onboard a new vendor, what we all mostly do, we will send out the onboarding form to the vendor. It can be an Excel form or a Google Sheet link. Vendor will submit the data along with the attachment. Somebody at our company side, they will be taking the printout, or even not printout, they will be reviewing the data. If everything is okay, then they will be entering and creating the master in your ERP. Okay, all happens manually. Then vendor invoice gets stuck in the email or at store. So depending on whether you are a product company or a service company, vendor invoice will come. Sometime it's stuck on your email or the user department email, and sometime at the store in the drawer. It never reaches the finance for processing on time. Okay. Next is manual invoice verification error. When the human person will verify the invoices, then sometime a lot of errors gets accounted because the our AP team people keeps changing, and it's very difficult for the industry to keep training people every time, and due to that, a lot of errors comes into the picture. Okay, then manual accounting errors. Now the invoice has been verified, and now the team will be doing the accounting in your ERP. It can be a PO based, it can be a non-PO based invoices. PO based invoices, the errors will be less if you have a automated three-way matching in your ERP enabled. But if it is a non-PO based, then error chances are very high. Okay, and then sometimes the GL code will be wrong, sometimes TDS will be wrong, sometimes GST selection will be wrong, and whatnot. Okay, so a lot of manual accounting error happens in the accounting. Okay, then manual GST to be reconciliation. So every month team has to do a GST to be reconciliation. Mostly it is manual. When I say manual, it does not mean you are doing it everything manual. It may be that you are downloading the invoice report from your ERP and uploading in a GST reconciliation tool like ClearTax or any other tool, and doing the reconciliation, and then coordinating with the vendor that their invoice has not been submitted into the GST portal, and do a multiple follow-up with the vendor. So everything happens manually. Okay. Then TDS miscalculations. If it is a human doing the calculation of the TDS, he can select the wrong TDS section. He can miss the lower TDS. He can miss the higher TDS applicability. Okay. And accordingly, a lot of TDS errors also comes into the picture. Manual two-way, three-way matching errors. Most of the ERP will have this check if you are doing the PO and GRN in the invoices, but still we have noted that some of the ERPs or some of the companies, even if they have a good ERP like SAP and Oracle, they do not do the three-way matching automatically. Okay. Then vendors changing for payment. Vendor has sent the invoice. As I mentioned, it never reaches the accounts and finance. And due to that, on the due date, vendor will change you for the payment. Okay. Then duplicate excess wrong vendor payouts. Okay. Then missed advance adjustment. This is again a significant problem even with the ERPs like SAP, Oracle. You have raised the PO, you have given the advance to the vendor. When the invoice comes in, you will process the invoice fully without realizing that there was an advance against that vendor, because there is a separate set off you have to do in the SAP, Oracle, or the large ERP, and then only you can do that. So you have to manually remember, okay, I have given advance. So sometime you miss the advance adjustment during the audit period, it gets highlighted. Okay. Then missed early payment discounts. Mostly on the goods-based companies, you might have contracted with your vendors that you will give 1% CD if you make the payment in 3 days, 5 days. But due to all these delays in the accounting, the invoice itself will come to you after 5 days. So you miss the early discount bus. Okay. Then MSME non-compliances. In India, the MSME is a huge issue these days. A lot of compliances are required, and you cannot delay the payout to the vendor. And if you delay, there are a lot of reporting involved. So this is a big issue these days in India. Okay. And team not able to cope up with the month-end pressure. As you all know, India being India, 30 to 40% of the invoices will hit you in the last 5 days of the month end. And your manual team sometime may not be have enough bandwidth to process the invoice on time. All those will have a month end pressure on the team, and books closure gets delayed. Okay. Then manual payment notification to the vendors. Once the payment is done, you manually notify to the vendor, this is the UTR number. Okay. Many ERP, when you have a host to host functionality with your banker, the bank itself will send out the email, but many people do not have that facility. Okay. And then Lastly, the running behind the approvers on the payment day. The invoice itself is not approved, and you have to follow with the 5 different approver because the vendor is on the head of the finance team to release the payment, or the user department is escalating that service will stop and all those things, and the finance will have to run behind the approver. Okay, so these are the top 15 issues of the manual chaos and errors, what is mostly prevalent in industries across the size. Okay. The problem is not your ERP. You have the best in class ERP, but the booking, invoice booking and verification process is completely manual. And that is the reason all these errors and inefficiency creeps into the system. Now let's look into the hidden cost of manual finance operations we all ignore. Okay, 30 to 40% of the invoice gets delayed due to mismatches. 90% of the AP's team time gets wasted in the manual verification. Okay, 5 to 10% invoices still comes for reworking either during the month-end review or during the internal audit review or statutory audit review. All these will have an impact on your working capital. Now let's look into the cash leakage no one tracks in the company. What our team has found out by talking to a lot of finance folks here, that if a company has on an average 2,500 invoices per month, that will translate into X number of hours loss to the company. So on a 2,500 average invoices, a company will lose 13,500 hours of an accountant, 5,500 hours of an AP reviewer, and it will cost ultimately the company 1 crore 10 lakh rupees yearly cash loss. And this is a real cash loss. Okay. But since it is a buried in the salary overhead cost, we do not realize. This number can be 10%, 15%. Stay back on that slide, Sneha. Yeah. So that number can be 10%, 15% here and there for your company. We have developed a calculator. You can click on the link or you can scan the QR code here. You can check yourself for your company. You can input your value, how much time your company person is taking to verify, validate account for each invoices, and all those parameters are there, and how much salary you are paying to each level of person. And based on that, you can self calculate your current yearly loss you are already incurring in your company if you are not on an AP automation. The link is also given in the chat box. Yeah. Now, what is a CFO wish list? What a CFO really want in today's world? The CFO has largely three expectations. One is the cost effective AP department, accurate and timely invoice processing, and overall zero non-compliances in the company as it relates to accounts and finance. If these three things are taken care, our CFO community will be very happy and they will have a peaceful sleep in the night. Okay. Now, what TYASuite is doing here, we have introduced an AI-based product. As I mentioned, you can go live as early as in 3 to 4 weeks timeline. So there is no quarters and quarters of implementation, and you can start getting the ROI from the day one of go live. Okay, what exactly we are doing, I am going to cover in the coming slides. So basically, from the receipt of your invoices to your accounting in your ERP. So you can have a SAP, Oracle, you can have Microsoft, Dynamics, NetSuite, Tally, Zoho, any ERP you have, you will be able to understand and automate your AP function. Let's launch a quick poll, Sneha. Okay, which ERP your company is currently using? Let's understand what kind of population we have here. So there is a poll here. You can submit. We have three options: SAP, Oracle, NetSuite Dynamics, or Tele, Zoho, and others. So let's take a quick poll so that we understand which all ERPs you guys are using. We'll keep the poll live for 10 seconds and then we will finish the poll. I request all the participants to submit the poll so that we can really understand what ERP you are using and I can guide you guys according to your ERP. Okay, so 25 people has only filled the poll. May I take 5 more seconds, request all the participants to fill the poll? Okay, so we have got the results out here. The 14 people are using SAP Oracle. That is 54% of the people who has polled, and 11% are using NetSuite Dynamics, and 33% are using Tele, Zoho, and others. So thank you very much for the participating in the poll. Now, may I know? Nagaraj, can you put the another poll? How many number of invoices you have in a month in your company? Nagaraj, can you put the second poll? Okay. The second poll is also live. So we have bifurcated your volume into four category. So let's vote how many invoices because the based on the number of invoices only you will be able to get the actual return from any implementation of the AI. If the volume is not very high, then actually you will not have a benefit. If you say I have only 100 invoice or 15 invoice in a month, then the AI will not do much of the help to your company. But if your invoice count per month is in thousands, yes, you will get a immense benefit out of the AP automation. So let's wait for 5 more seconds for the participants to participate in the poll. Okay, so we have 31% of the participants less than 1,000 invoices. Okay, 34% of the participants we have a 1,000 to 2,000 bucket. We have 17% 2,000 to 5,000, and 17% we have a more than 5,000. So that's a good mix. Let's do that. And the third poll I want to understand, are you guys using any invoice automation tool already? So Nagaraj, can you put the third poll? Yeah. So if you can participate, and this is going to be the last poll before we start on the our automation journey. So if you are using any kind of an automation tool, like say for invoice approval or workflow tool or any AI tool or OCR tool for managing your invoices, then you can click on the yes. If you are not using anything, you are still using the traditional way of receiving the invoice on the email or physical copy, and your accounting team is typing and punching and verifying, then you can put no. So let's wait for 5 more seconds. I request participants to complete the poll so that we can get more accurate participation from the participants. Okay, great. So we have got only 13% of the participants are using the AI automation or the invoice automation tool, not AI, and 87% are currently not using the any kind of tool. So this is actually the scenario in India. In India, the finance automation always takes the backstage. Okay, we do not want automation or the our readiness to change and willingness to change stops us to implement any tool. So let's proceed here. Okay. Now, how at TYA, how we are helping the accounts payable function to automate and go to zero touch. Okay. Why the name is Zero Touch? After a lot of consideration, this name has been chosen as a Zero Touch because what we are doing, we are eliminating the manual touch from receiving the invoices to accounting in your ERP. The entire function will be handled by an AI. And in this process, you save 90% of the manual effort. If you have a say 5 people team or a 10 people team doing the invoice verification, punching and recording and GST reconciliation, TDS, all those things, you will be able to do only with a 1 or 2 people in our tool. So let's look into how the tool works. Okay. So the first you are go back. Yeah. So the first you are receiving the invoices from the vendor. Now the invoice can be received from the vendor in multiple ways. You can receive the invoice from the vendor on email, or you can give a access to the vendor of vendor portal. So TYA has a vendor portal. Okay. You can give access to your vendor and vendor can submit the invoices on the portal directly. The benefit of submitting the invoices on the portal directly is that vendor becomes accountable and vendor cannot blame the company that the invoice is sent long back, pending for the accounting, all those things. So it is always advisable to give access to the vendor portal. If not, vendor, you can give a dedicated email ID to the vendor and vendor will send all the invoices into that email ID. Okay. If the invoice is received physically in your factory or warehouse, then we have a TYA app where your people can just open the app, take a photo and submit the invoice and you are done. Okay. The moment the invoice is received to TYA through any of the sources, our AI tool will pick up the invoice and each invoice goes through 6 different AI agents and then gets verified your invoice against 66 checkpoints. Okay. This is the little old. Last week we have upgraded this. We have added 5 more checkpoints. Okay. So now we are verifying all invoices through 71 checkpoint. This we are going to see in the next slides. And if there are any exception, AI will tell you which points has failed in this invoice. Accordingly, the vendor will get an auto email if any points is failed and which has a vendor issue. System will automatically revert the invoice back to the vendor, ask him to correct the error and submit the invoice again. No manual intervention. Okay. If there is any manual intervention required, then yes, that 1%, 2% AP team, what you will have going forward, they will be able to close the exceptions and then move on. And if the invoice has come to the email, if the vendor is not existing, then the AI will automatically send them the vendor onboarding email. And the most important, the vendor will fill the form and submit the information in the form. And before even it comes to the company side for approval, we are verifying the GST number from the GST department, PAN number with the income tax department, MSME number from the MSME database, and the bank information from the RBI database. After all these 4 verification, only vendor will be able to submit the form. And that's why we call it a zero touch vendor onboarding. So that on the company side, you do not have to review anything, you do not have to check anything. You just need to process the vendor and vendor gets onboarded in your ERP. Okay, whether Oracle, SAP, it will be all interlinked. It will be directly onboarded to your core ERP. Okay, once the invoice is submitted and invoice passes through all the validation, then it will send to the approver as a workflow automation where you can set up your approval metrics as per your company policy. We have all kinds of approval metrics, whether amount based, committee based, parallel approval, sequential approval, everything you can set in our system, and system will automatically route that invoice to the approver. And the best part, you can also set a TAT for each approver. The system will automatically remind the approver multiple times before the TAT for that approval is about to breach. And once the TAT is breached, it will auto-escalate to their manager. By enabling this automated escalation feature, our clients has reported 70% reduction in their approval timelines. Okay. And once the invoice gets fully approved, it will be pushed to your ERP. The best part, the approver does not necessarily have to log into TYASuite system. We have an email-based approval. On the email, approver will receive every detail, including the all the invoice detail plus attachment, and approver can review on the go and just click on the approve or reject button on the invoice itself, on the email itself, and invoice gets approved. We also have a dedicated approver app where approver will be able to just log into the approval app and approve the invoices. And once the invoice gets fully approved, as I mentioned, it will seamlessly sync up to your ERP, whether it's Oracle, SAP, Dynamics, Tally, Zoho, all ERP, we are connected. Okay. Yeah. Now, the 71 automated validation checklist with near zero errors and minimal manual effort. You can download the checklist also by clicking on the QR code. We will also see the checklist in the coming slides. And to all the participants, we will also email out the checklist after this call. Okay. Yeah. So let's look into the checklist. So overall invoice verification. So let's look into that, what we are doing for the overall invoice verification. We are checking duplicate invoice, checking invoice date is in the current financial year, because as you must know, if the invoice is from the previous financial year, you have a tax implication. The invoice will be disallowed for the tax purpose. Then we are also checking invoice date should not be future dated. Invoice date must be after the PO date, not before the PO date. Many companies, what they do, they still have the policy, or you can say the way around that. After receiving the invoice, they will raise the PO. The system will highlight that, and you can make as per your company policy whether you want to keep this check as a optional or mandatory. Okay. Then is the vendor name correctly mentioned on the invoice? Is your company name correct on the invoice? Many times we have seen the vendor will write wrong company name on the invoice, and that becomes a problem during the audit. And most importantly, if you have a multi-company, multi-legal entity group, then by mistake, one legal entity invoice gets accounted in the other legal entity. Okay, all those things gets completely stopped. The vendor bank account matching with the vendor master. The net payable in the invoice will be calculated properly or not. If there is any three-way mismatch, then we are ensuring the debit note is created automatically, no manual involvement, and the debit note will be auto-adjusted against the invoice. If the vendor is an MSME vendor, and if you have received the invoice with a delay, then also we flag it off so that you have an option to ask the vendor for a revised invoice. Okay. Then arithmetical accuracy, we are verifying on the invoice through AI. If it is a foreign vendor, then correct currency will be automatically selected for accounting. If it is a MSME mentioned on the invoice, so many times what we have seen that in your vendor master, you have not updated the MSME status, or you have updated as no MSME, but when the vendor is giving you the invoices, they are telling that I am an MSME. So this becomes a conflict. So we are also verifying that what is written on the invoice. Okay. If the MSME status is mentioned on the invoices, and if it is a contradicting to your masters, then we also flag it off so that you can correct your masters. Okay, let's look into the next slide. Okay, so for the GST, we are doing a lot of checks. Okay, so if you see, we are doing in total 35 checks for the GST. Let's look at what kind of 35 checks we are doing for the GST. Okay, we are verifying each invoice whether this invoice is part of GSTR 2B or not. We are linked to the department website, where we for each invoice we are hitting the department website and checking the status of GST 2B and other status what is listed here. Then we are also checking whether vendor GST is mentioned on the invoice or not. Since it is a global tool, and that is the reason we have mentioned VAT, so many countries does not call it GST, they call it VAT. So we are also verifying the VAT for the outside India entities. Okay, is the vendor GST active? So many fraud is happening. The vendor will give you a GST invoice, but they are not active in the GST department. So for every invoice, we are verifying whether the vendor is active or not. Okay. Then is the vendor is regular in filing the GST return or not? Is your company GSTN correctly mentioned? We have found a lot of scenario where the company GSTN was itself wrongly mentioned on the invoice. Is the CGST, IGST calculated correctly? HSN code is correct in the invoice as per your master. Is the GST rate correctly applied by the vendor? Is the GST amount calculation done correctly by the vendor? If the item is RCM item, then we ensure that vendor has not charged into a forward charge and we calculate RCM automatically from our side. Now, if the vendor is a e-invoice vendor, this also we verify from the department website on a real time for each invoices. If the vendor is a e-invoice enabled vendor, then we flag it off to you, and then it ensured that the vendor has issued the QR code and IRN number on your invoice. Many times we have seen vendor is e-invoice eligible, but they are still giving you normal invoices, and that is incorrect. So we are highlighting that all those things to you. If you have purchased the goods and it's a more than the EVA bill limit, then we are also automatically verifying the amount based on the EVA bill limit, and we are flagging it off that EVA bill is required. And if the invoice has mentioned EVA bill, we are automatically capturing that also. Okay. Then coming to the GST input, we are also verifying whether the item you have purchased is eligible for the input or not. If the input is eligible, then you are able to take the input. And then the vendor GST correct as per the master. Sometime in the master, you have updated a different GST number and the vendor is giving you the invoice from a different GST number. If the vendor has a multi-location, that also we verify and ensure that we flag it off. Okay. And then sometime the vendor name in your master will mismatch with the GST record. So that also we are verifying directly with the GST department whether the vendor master record name is matching in the GST department or not. Okay. Then we have a total purchase. So many industries has mandated that, like real estate. Okay. Many industries has mandated that you cannot do a purchase from an unregistered vendor more than X percentage of your total purchase during the year. Like real estate, the government has set up a 15% limit. So for every unregistered vendor purchases, we are verifying to ensure that the total limit for the current year from the unregistered vendor you are not crossing. If you are crossing, we are stopping you there. We are also verifying if the same vendor has crossed the GST registration limit. Like say for example, you are buying from one vendor, you have already purchased 25 lakh invoice, but the vendor is still unregistered. Okay, so then we highlight you and tell you that this can be a fraudulent vendor or you will have a problem. When the department comes tomorrow, department will ask the question to you that how did you buy more than 20 lakh from this vendor, knowing the fact that he is an unregistered vendor. So all those things we are verifying through AI, no manual intervention required here. The next most important is rule 46, which most of our AP team do not do it completely. What rule 46 mentions that if the 16 points are not there in your vendor invoices, you will not be able to take up the input credit for these invoices, even if it is part of GST 2B. Okay. What we have noted, 30 to 40% of our clients' invoices fails rule 46. Okay. And you are sitting on a time bomb. Department will come after 4 years, 5 years. They will look into that and they will issue a demand notice to you for reversing the input plus 100% interest and penalties. Okay. And we are all doing with AI with zero manual involvement. Every invoice goes through these checkpoints. Okay. Now let's look into the next slide. The PO related verification. We are verifying whether the invoice is linked to a valid PO. Invoice quantity is lower than equal to GRN quantity. Invoice quantity is lower than equal to PO quantity. Invoice rate should be aligned to your PO rate. PO should be a valid PO, not should be an expired or a cancelled PO. The goods GRN and SRN must have been done for the invoices, and we are doing a three-way mismatch at the item level. So again, everything happens by AI, no manual involvement here also. Now let's look into the TDS compliances. We are verifying for each line item based on the description mentioned on your invoice. Okay. We will take up, you can write all your questions here. We will take up all the questions one by one. Okay. Thank you. Then we are verifying the TDS rates also. If the vendor has given you a lower TDS, then we are also verifying and ensuring that the lower TDS is deducted up to the amount of certificate. Okay. If the vendor is section 206 AB disqualified, then also we are checking at the automation level that the higher TDS shall be deducted, and we are deducting higher TDS for that vendor. So all these checks we are doing automatically with AI, no manual involvement till here. Now, we are also doing a lot of overall company level compliances. If you have identified a vendor as an agreement based vendor, then we ensure that a valid agreement of that vendor exists in your database, and we select automatically the which vendor agreement is this invoice pertains to. Then if the amount of the agreement has exhausted, then we stop you there also. Okay. Then we have approval metrics. It is ensured that approval metrics of your company is followed for each invoices, no exception. If you have a budget management, we also verify the budget. Okay. Then segregation of duties are verified. If the PO approver and the GRN creator should not be the same person, and we are verifying that also. Then if it is a non-PO based invoice, then we are also predicting the GL code, which GL code it shall go. Okay. And this is where most of the errors is done by the human. Okay. If it is a multi-cost center company, then we are also verifying which cost center this invoice shall be booked into. Okay. Through AI. And most importantly, if you have given the advance to the vendor, we auto adjust the advance in the invoice itself so that there is no chance of any miss out. And then lastly, the invoice due date will be automatically calculated either based on the vendor master for a non-PO based invoice or from the PO credit period based on the PO based invoices. So these are the 71 checkpoints every invoice goes through and then presented to you in the front end, which point passed, which point failed, and then only invoice can be processed. So this will ensure that your accounting does not go wrong anywhere. I think 71 point checks are quite enough, and it will take care of all the checkpoints what an AP person is supposed to do. Now let's quickly look into the how the actual checkpoint looks into our software. Okay, the moment you send the invoice, it will take less than 1 minute for the AI to process your invoice, and AI will check all the 66 checkpoints, and it will tell you how many verified, how many rejected, how many not applicable for your company. It will also give you an overall percentage of accuracy of this invoice. Okay, you can see this invoice is 88% accurate. Okay, so invoice gets auto validated before even it reaches your team. Okay, let's look into the next. Now, most importantly, your team, anything they will do manual changes. Okay, say invoice number, ERP is saying duplicate. Currently, your team will put comma, full stop, and A, B, C, and process that invoice. However, in our tool, we have taken care of that also, so that approval time is reduced to 1 second, 2 seconds for approving an invoice. What approver has to do, they just need to see if manual changes was done in the invoice. If there is any manual changes done, then system will give you a red button. If you see on the top right, there is a red icon, manual changes. Okay, so if any manual changes any user has done on the invoice after the AI has filled the invoice, it will show the red button, and the approver cannot approve the invoice without reviewing what changes the user has done. And the changes also will come in the red line. The approver only needs to focus on the red line changes, not the entire invoices, and he can approve the invoices. It will save significant time for the approver as well. Okay. Now, quick this thing before zero touch and after zero touch, the overall approval cycle will reduce to less than 8 hours. Manual follow up will completely go away. Everything will happen automatically via TET engine and due dates. Verification time, AI will validate the entire invoices and less than 1 minute. Currently, if you are verifying the invoices manually, first of all, you do not do 71 checkpoints. Okay, even if you do, it will take 10 to 40 minutes per invoice, which we cannot give it to our people. AI is doing everything in less than 1 minute. Okay, or you will have a complete visibility on a real time basis. Where are the invoices? Even the vendor, if you have given the vendor portal, they will also have a complete visibility. Accuracy and compliances will be 99% plus now. Okay, Rule 46 compliances 100% compliant. Audit readiness and with confidence, all errors gets blocked upfront. So this is what the life will change for you. Okay. Now, what is the overall benefit of zero touch invoice processing? 90% effort saved, 99% accuracy, and 70% faster approval cycle, zero duplicate invoices, and 100% audit readiness. Okay. Then automation, your IT can trust. You cannot implement any tool in the enterprise client unless until your IT team had blessed it. So from the IT side, we are ready for them. We are an ISO certified company. We provide you SOC2. Our data is encrypted at rest and in transit. We have a completely role-based access, and we also have a single sign-on facility. The full audit trail as per Indian regulation and automated daily backups in the India server. So we tick off all the checkbox of your IT team so that they can give a easy sign off to you. Okay. Now we are integrated with almost every ERP in the world. Okay. As I mentioned you, what is the best is no more eternal waiting for go live. Many tool fails because of this issue, and we have ensured here that we can go live in 2 to 4 weeks time. Okay. Some of the awards and ratings we have on the software platforms. Yeah. Some of the clients already onboarded and using our tool. Okay. Good point about this tool. This is industry agnostic. It will work across any industry, whether you are a manufacturing, whether you are a trading, service segment, fintech company, IT, ITS, everything this will work. E-commerce, so everything this software will work, and this software is promised to give you up to 90% reduction in the manual effort what you are doing and improving your accuracy to 99% plus. Okay. So that's it from our side. Now, happy to take all the questions from the participants. You can put the question in the chat box. You can raise your hands. Our team will give you a chance to talk to me as well. Whatever questions are already put in, I will start taking the questions now. Okay. So one question is there. Thank you for such information. There are a few queries from my end. Okay. Are there any provision to customize the validation requirement? Yes. So if you believe this 71 validation, what I have discussed is not sufficient for you, yes, you will give us the list of validation and we will customize it for your company. And we are already improving based on industry feedback. When we launched this tool 4 months back, we were only 42 checkpoints. Up to last week, it was 66 checkpoints. As I speak today, this morning, we have 71 checkpoints. Yes, if you give any checkpoint which are missing, we will be happy to customize without any cost for you. Okay. Is there any provision to send the communication to different stakeholders? Are the requirement or error of the invoice? Yes. You can route the invoice to anybody in the company if there is any error in the invoice and you want somebody else to also look into that invoices. Okay. Will it provide multiple follow-ups with the concerned person in case of delay? Yes. As I mentioned you can set up to 6 reminders, okay, to the approver, and system will automatically remind them for the TAT breach, and also it will escalate to their manager. If you want more than 6 reminder also, that is possibility. Okay. The next question, does it have relevance with the invoice format of the vendor? All the vendor does not give uniform format. Very, very good question. This is an AI-based tool and it is format agnostic. Any format, any language, handwritten invoices, PDF invoices, JPG invoices does not matter to us. As long as your human eye can read the invoices, our AI will be able to process the invoices. while you want to talk one to one, you can compile all your exceptional invoices in your company, and in the live we can show you how we are reading your invoice and verifying your invoices. Okay, anybody else has any questions,
We
you can
have
type it. Yeah,
Mr. Rakesh Upadhyay and Mr. Siddharth Singh Rathod. They have raised their hands. I'm just allowing them to talk.
sure. Yes, please. Hello, have you unmuted them?
Yeah, I have requested them for to unmute. Mr. Rakesh, Mr. Siddharth Singh, can you unmute?
Can you try to unmute them?
Yeah, I did request it.
Okay.
Mr. Rathod, you're not audible. I can see that you have unmuted your mic.
Or if your mic has some problem, you can send message in the chat box
Yeah,
also. I
that
will be
works as
happy
well.
to take. Yeah.
We just missed a question from Mr. Manish Lada. His question was, what if the company does not have a PO system?
Okay. So if the company does not have a PO system, it means that is a non-PO based invoice. So as I mentioned, whether it's a PO based invoice or a non-PO based invoice, our tool gives the same benefit. And in fact, for a non-PO based invoice, the benefits are much larger because many errors are for the non-PO based invoice, like the person is manually selecting the GL code, manually selecting the TDS percentage. So all those things will be taken care of.
We have a question from Mr. Rakesh Upadhyay. Can we get a recording of this session to download so that we can analyze the solution again in detail and get back?
Sure. To all the participants, we will also send the recording of this session. And at any point of time, if you want to have a one-to-one demonstration with our team, we shall be happy to come on board and give you demonstration based on your company actual used case. Any other questions? You can so there is a QR code given. If you want to connect with me over LinkedIn, you can take this QR code, send me a request, and I'll be happy to get associated with you over LinkedIn as well. We'll give a couple of more minutes, Aman, and then we finish up this meeting.
Yes, definitely. I think most of the questions that you have answered must have solved a lot of queries for the participants. And considering the level of tech involved in the solution, in your solutions, I think most of the queries and most of the problems the current organizations are facing that can be easily solvable. And as you said, you are currently standing on the 71 checkpoints. As the solution improves and evolves, more checkpoints will be included, and customizations can be added in your solutions as well. So there is always scope for customization, everyone. We would love to have TYASuite as a partner for your organization to automate your finance processes.
Sure. And Aman, just to highlight to the group that as I mentioned, we are today on 71. 10 checkpoints are more in the pipeline already. Okay. So
Fantastic.
in the next 1 month, we will have 81 checkpoints. And if any client, any customer comes back to us that okay, you might have missed this point, we immediately take it up for development. All the checkpoints are free of cost. Okay. Even if you come back to add 5 more checkpoints, we don't charge you for that. Okay. We develop it to you. We train our AI free of cost for you for that. No additional cost for adding the checklist.
Fantastic. There is always more scope to grow for TY along with the organization and the
Yes.
Indian market.
And we have given in just 4 months, we have given 400 plus demos. Okay. and every CFO and the finance head is just loving the tool. Okay, so my strong suggestion to the people who have at least more than 1,000 invoices, okay, per month, or you have a multi-location, although your invoice number can be less than 1,000, but you have say 20 offices across India and all those complications, then you must take a demo of our tool along with your AP head and the CFO and a decision maker. And once a decision maker sees this tool, he cannot deny it. That is my assurance.
Definitely, automation is an essential need for
Yeah.
the Indian market today. We are a growing country, and I'd like to insist all of the organizations to please automate their invoicing processes and AP processes as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Vikas. I think that's about
Sir, there is one more question from Sanjay Mangal.
it.
Mhm.
Can you confirm cast once again?
So Sanjay, let's do one thing. The cost is a very depending on your ERP, your number of invoices. If you can send me now here on this chat box, I can confirm the cost, or I can have my team to call you and confirm the cost. No problem. Up to your comfort. We will have Sanjay's number, right?
Yeah, we do.
Ah,
Our team will be reaching out to all of the participants from TYASuite and we'll try to set up a demo as per your requirements and as per the customizations that are needed. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's session, today's webinar on how to automate your AP functions with AI. I would love to see you all again in our upcoming webinars. We would love to have you on board with us as well.
and thank you very much, all the participants. You may connect with me on LinkedIn. You can like our LinkedIn page so that you get a real-time updates on all the innovations we are doing for the finance team. I, being a finance person, finance is at my core, and I would love to see the finance department getting easy, because every night I have seen my finance team also, myself also working late night, midnight, only processing the AP invoices. So I want to get our finance team out of that midnight burning the candle every month. So thank you very
Definitely.
much once again.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a great day, everyone ahead. Have a great day, Mr. Vikas and TY Sood.
Thank you. Thank
Log
you.
on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.